Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. As we gather for this Memorial Day holiday weekend to honor and remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation, and this year to honor first responders in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, there's really a different vibe here in Indiana. For the first time since 1946, there will be no Indianapolis 500 on Memorial Day weekend, the pandemic pushing the 104th running of the Indy 500 to a new date, August 23rd. What does it mean for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for motorsports? And when will fans be in the stands at IMS? For some answers, I connected this week via Zoom with IMS owner Roger Penske. Well, like many people in Indianapolis and every corner of the state of Indiana, the Indianapolis 500 means a lot to our family. In fact, we put a special Indianapolis 500 wall on our lower level of our home where we're conducting the interview with Roger Penske this weekend. In fact, this photo here, I think, will become an iconic photo of Roger and Tony George shaking hands at the start-finish line of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway right after the deal was done some months ago. And Roger, so appreciative of you taking the time to join us from Michigan.
Well, Gary, I wish I was sitting there next to you, and I was just kind of working the car over here today, getting ready for Carburation Day on Friday and getting ready to race on Sunday. But, you know, we're in a period of time in our lives of this pandemic that probably more important than racing. It's about our friends, our fans, our associates that succumb to this terrible disease. When we think about the 500, I call it generational. These people that love to come every year, they pass the tickets down. We want to be sure we do the right thing. And I think the most important thing we do is be sure when we do have the race, we do it properly, safely, and healthy. And I think in conjunction with the mayor and certainly the governor, who are big fans of the track, we have to stay in step with our health departments. But from my perspective right now, sitting here today, I'm hoping that August 23rd will happen and we'll have a great race. But I don't want to give any false impressions that I know the answer. But let's be smart, let's be positive, and let's race.
Tradition is such a big part of the Indianapolis 500. Can we expect tradition as we have known it for so many years as part of the race come August?
Well, I would assure you that if we have a race in August, we had the opportunity to meet certainly with the parade people last week. We have a plan. Obviously, they're going through their whole constituency to determine exactly how we'll affect it. But these are things that I guess it's a rolling, week after week. But that tradition we want to have, and certainly we're counting on decorating the city. We want people to have, house parties. We got to think about the old timers. I think all of that's got to be scheduled in. And, Allison and Mark Miles were so important to the Super Bowl. They're right at the top of that. And I think that our execution will be a good one. But it's so hard to say. And look, I look at this as not a short-term investment. And I would hope that the citizens of Indiana understand that the Speedway is a long-term investment. So, we're dealing with things that are unprecedented in our lifetime. So we've got to have the ability to be able to trade off and do some things that might make it better for everyone from a safety and health perspective.
Roger, can you give us perspective as we sit here today on July 4 weekend? See, NASCAR has begun to run again. IndyCar will do so in a few weeks. Can we expect, in your view, fans in the stands come July 4 for that big IndyCar NASCAR weekend?
Well, let me first start with June 6th, where we're running in Texas. That'll be our first race, and we will run without fans in Texas. From a July 4th perspective, our plan is to run with fans. We're looking at social distancing. We've had health department officials out talking with the senior leadership, Mark Miles and his team. But again, that's going to be a call that we'll make, whether it's with or without fans. We'll make that call coming up probably, in the next couple of weeks here. We still have some time, and I think we need to stay in step, with the state and local authorities from the standpoint of what we do there. We will have a race on July 4th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Roger, final question for you. That's just your personal thoughts, not having an Indianapolis 500 on Memorial Day weekend. It's obviously something that's very important to you and has been part of your life for a number of years. But your thoughts this weekend without a race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Well, as you know, Gary, I go back to 1951 with my dad when I came there as a young man. And to think about the years that I've attended, the 18 times that we've been in Winter Circle, and to think that in the 1940s they didn't have the race and it hadn't been moved, but to think that this year that we'll be sitting at the Speedway watching a rerun of that race of last year is going to be something. But I guess more important than all of that is from a country perspective, from the United States, we've got to remember the military, the men and women, the first responders I mentioned, these healthcare workers. Those are the people that we've got to cherish and support during Memorial Day. But it's going to be tough. I think that we'll get through it. You know, racers are tough. I mean, you hit the wall one hour and 2 hours later you're back on the track. So we got to think that way as we go forward.
Roger Penske from his office in Michigan. We'll have more with Roger Penske in the second half of this week's show.